I want to welcome everybody to the December meeting of the Fairhope Airport Authority. I'll call the meeting to order. First item of, the chair recognizes that we have a quorum, and the first item of the business is to approve the minutes of the November 15th meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, secondly, I want to tell our board that this is streaming. This is the first time we've done this. This is a welcomed addition to what we're doing. We hope to do this going forward every meeting, but it's a new opportunity for us. And the next thing I want to do is I want to move up to, I want to add an addition to the minutes where we talk about the AT&T easement that we've talked about before, but I've left it off the minutes. So, Josh,
Off the agenda, you mean?
off the agenda, yes.
I'll move to add this item to the agenda.
Yes.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Yes,
Okay,
you second.
okay. All right, so we will add an item on the agenda where we talk about the AT&T easement. Josh, you want to do that?
Is there a vote after the second?
No.
Okay, all those in favor of adding to the agenda, please signify saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, Josh?
All right, so this is a proposed telecommunications easement by AT&T. It's been discussed in previous meetings, and what I was waiting for was to get a proposed easement document from AT&T. We assumed, and I think correctly, that they had standard documents that they use in situations like this, and so what we wanted was their proposed easement language plus a map that would show the parameters of their proposed easement. And my main concern was that the easement, if it's granted, it would be a non-exclusive easement. In other words, that the authority would have the ability to grant to others the right to use the same easement and not step on AT&T's toes.
Sure.
And the nature of an exclusive easement is one that if you have it, you can exclude others, even the owner of the property, from using it. And so they provided their document. In the special conditions or stipulations, they do say that it is a non-exclusive easement. There is some language in the first page of the document that says that AT&T or Bell South, that put it in here, has the exclusive right to allow any other person, firm, or corporation to attach wires or lay cable, etc. My only change to the document is that word exclusive be changed to non-exclusive, and if that is changed, I have no other problems with the document.
Okay. Then what I'd like to do is have a motion that if AT&T will change it or Bell South will change it, that we go forward with the AT&T easement. They've told me they would basically make it a non-exclusive easement.
Are they going to come back and give us a layout of where they're proposing this easement goes before we vote on it?
They've attached a map.
We've got a map.
Now, they've attached a map to their proposed document, which shows the boundaries of the easement. And I will say one other
Our
thing.
engineer looked at that, did Bobby look at that?
I don't know.
Our engineer has looked at it, and we negotiated in the contract, or actually the contract that will be forthcoming, that because this is an FAA property, we'll have a one-time chance to relocate it. If we relocate the road, they can relocate the easement at their expense one time. At their expense one time.
That's in the contract?
That's in the contract. Not in this contract, but it's in the agreement that I've seen. And we'll, that'll all be documented.
And Josh, I'm assuming the standard language in there about the other utilities that are already there, they're 100% responsible for any damage to that?
I don't know if that, I don't believe that is in there, so, we may need to add some language to that effect too. They seemed agreeable to negotiate most things that you've talked with them about, so, I don't know what's under there.
Well, we got the city utilities, but we have fiber optic cable running all the way down the side of this same road they want to easement.
Then I think that would be a good addition, and, Joe, you communicated with them,
They seem very flexible, they want to do this. This is a request from Faulkner to upgrade their internet access in the school. And, they're Faulkner's IT provider, and they want this piece of business.
How long is it gonna take to get all these changes made to the contract? I mean, do we need to, pass a resolution subject to all these suggestions, or do we have, or should we wait till our January meeting to take another look at it and then
I'll-
approve it.
Whatever
I
the
mean,
board
is there a
wants to do.
sense of urgency?
There's no sense of urgency. I mean, they've stopped and stopped and we've lost, but I just wanted to move forward with, I actually omitted it from the agenda, from the agenda this month, but I wanted to still move forward with it. And they're gonna financially compensate us for this. I mean, this isn't a free easement,
And how much are they financially compensating us?
$750
Per
to the building
watch?
once.
I'd rather feel that we lay this over till January to make sure that we get an agreement that comes back that includes all the things that we've talked about today.
Okay. All those, that's a not, we'll do that.
We'll just
Table
table
it.
it.
We'll table it.
Just table it.
We'll table it. And Josh will help me. We'll have one more phone call and we'll get this knocked out. Okay? All right. The next, moving back to the agenda, Chip, do you want to give a report on the General Aviation Council of Alabama?
Mentioned previously, I'm on the board for the General Aviation Alliance of Alabama, and it's basically our goal and mission is to support all the general aviation airports. We started one of several legislative briefings we're going to do statewide. First one was in Huntsville, and the Speaker of the House attended. We had several people from the Senate, senators and representatives that were there. It's very well received. It's not a lobbying effort, but it is more of an exchange of ideas and our input on some ways that we may be able to raise funding for the general aviation airports in Alabama by utilizing funding from the users only. So that was kind of well received. We came up with ways that we might be able to raise funding that would just come back to the airports, but the users would be the ones that are the ones that are paying into the system for it. It was a good briefing. It's interesting because a lot of the legislatures were very keenly aware of the contributions that the general aviation airports in their districts they provide. There's so many that don't have airline service and not big like we are, but little places, little communities, and how many of them thrive off of a lot of corporate airplanes that are based there that bring a lot of revenue into the communities. And we'll continue to do these throughout the state this spring.
And we'll do one in Gulf Shores.
We're gonna do one probably here at Gulf Shores.
Okay.
That one would be.
We're probably gonna be the last one, so we started north end of the state, but we wanna wrap them all up by this spring. So I'm thinking probably February, March.
And one of the goals of this is to try to develop new revenue sources for general
That's
aviation.
exactly our main mission is to do that.
All right. Thank you, Chip. I'm going to do the report on the updated status of 2 hangars under construction. We've got 2 hangars under construction at the airport on the west side, Cross Creek and Mid-Bay Air and Cedar Creek. Easy for me to say. Mid-Bay Air is started, have all permits in hand, and they're probably 10%. They're putting footings down, and they've done some of the foundation work. My sense of it, it's a pretty straightforward hangar, in probably 3 to 4 months, maybe March or April of next year. Cedar Creek is a little more complicated. They've been under construction for about 9 months. I had a conversation with Morgan. He said they will be in the hangar by April. So that's encouraging. So anyway, those are 2. One of the, Cedar Creek is about $1.2 million in permit value, and the other one's certainly less than that, but those are great additions to the airport. Questions? Okay. Chip, you want to update us on our noise issues, or?
Joe and I went and visited with the Coast Guard. He had reached out and made a call to them, and I forgot the guy, Commander somebody.
Batak.
And we went over and met with him. They weren't aware that there were any noise issues, and they kind of explained to us their profile and what they do. They train pilots as well as they train for search and rescue, and they equally use our airport, Keesler and Gulfport, Pascagoula Airport, Dauphin Island Airport, St. Elmo Airport, Jack Edwards at Gulf Shores. Mobile Downtown and Mobile Regional Airport. They balance them all out between each one. They probably have into our airport 120 flights a year, which is one every 3 days. Some are in the daytime, some are at night. The things we did learn that we did know, they do training off over the water at Point Clear. If they transition over to the airport here, they have to climb up to at least a minimum of 1,000 feet. We had kind of, what I learned from this also, their night vision goggle training, which we kind of thought would be anywhere, is done strictly over the center of every airport. So if we have any noise issues with helicopters that are not over the airport, it's not the Coast Guard. One thing we did ask is, we've had more issues with noise on the west side. They are going to look, and if it's not a safety issue, they'll do all their training as far as just their pattern work. All the training's over the airport, but they have to make a circular rectangular pattern back to the runway. They're going to look at doing that on the east side of the airport.
Chip, is all of that, the 120 flights here, is that all rotary wing?
I think everything here is rotary.
Everything's rotary wing. And probably half of that 120 are at night. So, I mean, and the helicopters are up by 12 o'clock. So they leave here by 10:30 or 11 to make sure everything's, so I mean, we hear stories of people, at 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever. That's not the Coast Guard.
In the wintertime, they have to be back in the hangar at midnight. I mean, at 10 p.m. And in the summertime, just because of the light change, they have to be back at base in the hangar at midnight.
Go back in the hangar too.
Yeah.
On the ground.
On the ground in the
On
hangar,
ground.
yeah. And with the hangar closed. So we thought it was a very productive meeting.
Because we learned a lot, and
Yeah.
they learned that they weren't aware that we had any issues, so they were very receptive to trying to accommodate us also.
Yep. Okay. Maybe
Okay, I didn't know if you were doing that or not. We met a week before last with the mayor. Representatives came from Wagonfield and from NAS Pensacola to brief her on their training and their issues as far as airspace that we've had complaints about as far as using the airport also.
And I guess the thing that I came away from that meeting from Randy Roy on a sidebar, he basically said that because of our new traffic pattern over the air, on the altitude patterns over the airport, they're no longer using our airport, Fairhope Airport, for touch and go landings. They said his words was it's too spiffy for a young Navy aviator to go from 1,500 down that quickly in that turn pattern. So basically, that was the essence. He said we're not using the Fairhope Airport anymore for touch and goes. Now the Air Force is. I mean, I'm not saying that there's no touch and goes going out there. So that could be Air Force people using it, but that's one of those unintended consequences. But it is what it is.
And they agreed to abide by it.
Yep. So they agreed to it. So that's it. Okay. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Pam, any questions? Okay. Moving forward, number 5 is the update of the East Side's construction project. We're moving a lot of dirt out there. We're probably 20% through. All the holding pond, all the settling ponds are built. They've started putting culverts in, not culverts, but pipe in. I get every Monday morning I get a report, and I think they're 21% done today as of Friday. I went to the construction meeting Thursday, and they're making good. They've lost a little bit of weather, a little bit of working time to weather, but I think they're well on track. So anyway, it's quite a construction project.
What about the planning of the east side? You all were going to talk about that.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
Chip and I met. Ray was not available. We've got a couple things we want to run by y'all. One, this goes back years ago, but this is a proposed terminal building of 16,000 square feet, which is gigantic. It needs to be probably 5,000 square feet. But whoever wants to do an FBO probably wants to put a hangar in there, so you might as well say they'll still be you know, probably 15,000 feet used there if they wanted their own hangar for their customers to go along with the FBO. So we talked about leaving that footprint the same. But you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got 12 proposed corporate hangars that are all 10,000 square feet apiece. We really don't think that's ever going to happen at Fairhope, or it won't be in the near future. It would be wonderful if it was, yes. None of them sitting here will probably be here if there's 12 of them out there. So we talked about a couple things. The ones that have the X's in them are the 100-foot by 100-foot hangars. The ones that are just 100-foot by 100-foot or 100-foot by 75-foot, those are just kind of semi-designated parking spaces for airplanes with tie-down. There's no building located there. So we were suggesting a couple things. We think maybe 4, whether this is proposed small plane parking, get 4, maybe 5 corporate hangars over there and keep these 4 here and eliminate these here. And then take this area here and take some T hangars and turn them north and south like they are over on the west side, and go back to Volkert and see what the layout would be on that.
Before we do that, what about this land right here? I mean, is that not usable land for, I mean, could you move this here, put T hangars here, or put T hangars here? And
That's kind of the holding pond.
is that what a pond is? Okay, that is that pond over there.
That doesn't really
I thought this is wasted space.
Now, that's the pond. It's a really big pond.
I agree with you. That's our holding pond.
And one point being is, you know, we've got, the T hangars are full, and we've got a long waiting list, and every airport in Baldwin County, all their hangars are full, they got a waiting list, so.
Well, it may be forever, but I see that as bread and butter right there. Is there a way to combine some of these and just make this T hangar space in here?
Well, that's the other thing that we were going to ask Volkert, because we got 430 feet in here.
Yeah, that's a lot. It
Front
doesn't look
here.
that big, does it? That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of space. So we've got a lot of options there. But there's a couple other questions that need to go with it. If we get corporate hangars like we have on the west side, they might want fuel farms. And so we've got to decide what we're going to do about future fuel farms. If you were to go look at Jack Edwards, they've designated an area on the end of the field that's probably not that big. That's a fuel farm. How many ever fit there or there? And it's kind of a first come, first serve. You build the first corporate hangar, you want to get your first fuel farm, and you do the second one, you get a fuel farm. Then when we're out of fuel farm room, you don't have.
Vince, I think we ought to keep the fuel farm on that side with the FBO, because it makes that FBO a lot more valuable. And I don't know, we got some feedback, well, wherever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe you put a big one here or you put it here, but it makes that tenant, it's that more, we can get that much more lease out of a tenant if they have all the rights to the
This
fuel
would be
farm.
less attractive for someone that wanted to open an FBO if.
I mean, less attractive.
Yeah, less attractive.
FBO
Yeah.
that can't sell but a fifth of the fuel they think they should be able to sell.
I agree with you 100%. We've just got to go through the FAA regulations and be sure that we designate this the right way of how we're doing it and why.
This could change. I mean, you could move, you might even be smarter, but then people, I don't know if these people are going to want to drive around. I don't think that's a big deal, is it?
No, if you're only going to have one, that's a great spot.
Do you want one that close to your FBO?
Pretty much. You want and this is gigantic. This is over 100 by 100. You do not need anywhere near that for a fuel farm. The one we have now is nowhere near that size.
Nowhere near that.
I would think that we would make a lot more money leasing this out if that was a common fuel farm.
Yeah.
I agree.
No, the idea is to drive the value of that FBO.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, and what we talked about earlier is that we'll get these kind of what we consider the best use, and then we'll do some pro formas as to leases and structural, so we can get a sense of what those dollar values are.
Chip and I wanted to run some
Yeah.
stuff by you as some ideas before
Yeah.
we had Volkert redrawing a lot of stuff, because you've got another concern here with the city. We've got to have this 30-foot setback on each side, or we've got to make a decision here. It's going to be
Is that
20
60
foot.
feet? Is it 30 feet either side? Is that 60
It's
feet?
60 feet on this one. This is a tad less than that, so that's got to be factored in. But we could do two things. We could make a rule that here it is. It has to be 30 feet from the property, the leased land. Or it'll be 20 feet and you have to put a firewall down your side, and you know that when you're in the bidding process for your lease.
Yeah.
That way you obviously get more use of your
We
land.
get one more in there and maybe one more in there.
Because you're talking 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 feet
What's
there.
that, what does that run up the construction cost for them? 10%, 30%?
It's $100,000.
These two hangars we have are pretty drastic.
700,000, that'd be
But
14%.
if you went 100 feet
A million,
deep,
it'd be 10% increase in cost.
20 feet high, you're not talking that much. I believe you could have done it in either one of those hangars for probably less than $25,000. But it's about $25,000 per hangar every day.
I say make them go with the firewall. Well, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We get more bang for our buck on
Squeeze
land.
one or two more in.
Yes. And that's just a requirement, but that's gonna need to be an upfront requirement that we didn't have when we started negotiating on the east side.
All of this is being
The west side.
constructed. This is all that's is under construction right now, right?
Yes, all of
The
that.
land is,
$3.4 million, the first phase. The second phase, which we'll apply for in July, is a $2.5 million that'll basically finish that
top
out.
coat.
Yep, top coat, ready to go, put airplanes out there. And hangars,
Getting there.
the government pays for 90% of that,
pays for 95%.
95%.
Other thing Chip and I talked about, your corporate jet pilot typically is not going to want to come around here, go this way, come all the way back here to his hangar, or here. Maybe over here if you had them on one side and you had plenty of maneuvering room over there, but they don't want to be taxiing a $15 million jet around the corner, you know what I mean? And it's got to be conducive to them to want to come here and spend that money and build that hangar, which is why we kind of talk about maybe moving some of these over here, gets them a little closer. This is more valuable, most valuable piece right here. Folks would start lining up this way, in our opinion, instead of this way going here.
Chair,
Guys, Cal Jones. Thank you. I just have a question. You mentioned the size are up to 10,000 square foot hangars. We've got a letter on record with the airport authority about our proposed development, which is a 120 by 140 foot hangar. I wonder if you've incorporated that into your layout plans.
We have not, but that can be done.
Okay.
we're early enough that we can do.
120 by 140
Yes, 120 feet of the door width, 140 feet deep.
You want 120 feet on the door side and 140 feet deep.
Right.
That deep.
Preferably with a north facing door.
Yes, sir. Right. Spot there, yeah. We got your spot right here.
Count on it.
I've been ready to sign for a while. But yeah, preferably with a north facing door to fit for hurricane. It's a large door.
That's exactly where.
That's it right there.
Name down.
You got 145 feet right there.
We have that lease over there in a minute.
Proposal, we'll have a bid proposal.
Have a bid proposal.
But those were general things that Chip and I talked about. Chip, I don't know if I'll leave anything out, and get an idea of a feel of what could be done there. There's nothing wrong with this. This was done a long time ago. Times change. When this was designed, most of the T hangars were probably 50 to 75% full down there at Fairhope. Now they're 100%. They're 100%
What's the
everywhere else.
waiting list on the T?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Bill. Bill, do you have any idea?
No, I don't. I know we have people who want T hangers and we just put their names down. I have no clue how long that list is.
But there is some list. Some list.
Absolutely.
I think Kyle estimated he thinks it's about a dozen.
There's a waiting list at Foley for about 25. You gotta wait till somebody dies to get a T hanger down there.
And Gulf Shore.
In Gulf Shores, there are no T hangers.
Actually, they're building
Bill?
some more.
They're building some now.
So just a question, have you folks considered multi-level aircraft storage as opposed to T hangars? It's very similar to what is done in marine clubs, like what they have at Fly Creek. So what I've seen is at least 2 levels, and you get a denser storage of aircraft, and so the payback on the hangar is improved.
I mean, I've never seen
bought
one.
it,
I've
didn't
seen where you buy the
Yeah,
aero
I've looked
lifts,
at it.
where you can put
Yeah, I
those,
remember
lift the
that.
planes up, put one underneath it. I haven't seen any pictures of the hangar that's been constructed that has that built into it. Or bang for the buck.
Those are about 13,000, 14,000 each, something like that.
I don't know the pricing on them. I know they exist, and,
Actually, they're made down in, I think, Florida. I think they're not far.
yeah, so we were looking at it, we were looking at it for both the middle and south hangers.
The middle hanger tall enough? Those are north hangers.
Yeah, well, the north hanger's going to a different purpose.
But both those hangers tall enough.
Okay.
They're good for G8, especially single-engine
Yeah.
aircraft.
It's pretty neat design. I mean, they're pretty sturdy, and yeah, I've seen them. Like I said, I assume if you're looking at it, if Continental is, I would bet you. I met the guy down at Sun and Fun last spring, and I bet you if he ended up wanting to buy several of them, he could discount the price or something.
Yeah,
We want to do.
Okay,
So we'll explore.
So if y'all don't mind, we're gonna go back to Volker. We didn't wanna go start talking to them. We'll spend a little bit of their money, but not of our money, talking to Volker to do that. But get a generic 8.5 by 11s real quick and look at them, and then
and like Vince said, we did this 8 years ago, and certainly the things have changed on those 8 years, so.
You got to kind of balance out the
Yeah.
needs for the public. I mean, what the demand is.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, all right, thank y'all. Next is a discussion of the development of the west side of the airport. I thought we have a prospective developer on the west side. I'm not sure if he's here, but that's obviously what we're working hard to do is get a west side development plan in place. We did get some proposals from our engineer, HMR, to basically how much it would cost to build a road in there. And we've had a series of discussions with Lee Lawson about the value of the road as far as how much it would encourage development versus not having the road. And he basically said, you really need someone to buy the property before you build the road. He doesn't think building the road adds that much value. But if somebody else builds the road, then that's a different story. So working on the west side, don't have anything to report. We do have some people that have been tentatively talking about buying additional acreage on the west side and cutting a half a mile of the 2.5 mile road on the west side. Questions? Okay.
I would just, I just want to make a comment that if we do, we just want to be absolutely certain if they cut in a road, that they're not cherry picking the property so much that
Sure.
it hurts the potential sales of the other
Yep.
portion of the west
I mean,
side.
some of the west side, when we had it platted, some of the west side are really good lots, level, not much fill, and some of those lots need lots of work. So, that's going to be a challenge. Okay. Number 7, update on the existing proposal to refinance the airport's $7,445,629 outstanding debt. We really haven't done anything on that since the last meeting. I think that's tied pretty intertwined with number 8 on the agenda as far as a review and discussion of Mayor Wilson's request for authority to transfer new property. So what I'd like to just say on number 7, we did get 4 responsive proposals. We thought the pricing was pretty good. Rates have moved against us somewhat in the last 4 to 5 weeks. But I think we could still negotiate one of those four bidders and get a good fixed rate on the airport. So that's really all I have to say, unless somebody else has something else. Jack?
I just want to say that I'm just trying to bring this to a head one way or the other and get the council's decision on this on Thursday night. I know that you and Pam have been working on some things to present.
Yeah, yeah.
So without knowing what they're thinking, I said, something's got to be done one way or the other because of rates rising. And, if I put on my airport authority hat and a decision has to be made, you need to know something from the city council. And if I put on my city council hat, a decision has to be made. something needs to be decided. So either way, the decision has to be made. So on the agenda, I put discussion and decision, because I don't know what that decision is.
And we'll move into item 8. There's a really good map that the GIS department put together for us that really outlines kind of what we've been talking about. The 56 acres there that's shaded in, I guess it's maroon.
Y'all know what we're talking about. Well, you want to talk about it and I'll hold this.
Okay, well, that's it. It's 56 acres that, basically, that's the east side construction project that we just talked about. We're $5.9 million into the construction project. It's got FAA assurances with it. It's basically part of the airport. The FAA, when we get through with the construction project, we'll redo the airport map, and that portion, that 56 acres will be incorporated into the airport. So that's pretty much, that's always going to be part of the airport. This 60 acres here is, again, has runway access. It would make a great location for an MRO or some business that needs airport or runway access, or something aviation related. The slot down here on this side, Vince pointed out that that needs to be maintained, because that's going to be, when we extend the runway or the taxiway, we'll have to have taxiway access to the runway all the way down. So again, this east side right here is all very inherently as part of the airport. I mean, that's just a really important part of our long range plan for the airport. The west side, not so much. I mean, we've got, again, we talked a little bit about that as far as needing a road and maybe selling some of that, but we right now, other than having sold 9.5 acres to High Grade Val and done a wetlands mitigation bank, we're waiting for somebody to come in and basically buy a large portion of the
Well,
west
in
side.
addition to that, we had 75 contiguous
Yeah.
acres designated as an Alabama Advantage site. So
right.
those are shovel-ready sites.
But really, we're working with Lee Lawson I've been out there myself 8 to 10 times, walked the property with potential developers. We just, as of today, we don't have anybody that wants to buy the property.
However, Airbus will start pressuring their secondary suppliers to start moving in, and we are designated a secondary site for
Yeah.
Airbus suppliers. So that's probably about a year out.
Joe, how many acres were bought in 2007?
253, and we've sold 10. Is that right? 256.
So it was 258 acres.
58.
258 acres. You sold 9.4 to High Grade, and you have 5.63 in a stream mitigation bank.
All right.
It was sold at
In the mayor's
$10,000.
email, she said 265 acres. Does anybody know where that number came from? So we never had 265. All right, and then those 56 acres that we're developing right now are in that number also.
Yes, they are.
So if we were at 258 and we sold 9.5, we're at 249.5.
That's pretty close. That's like,
So round numbers, 250 acres, we got 5 other acres, it says, so we got 245 acres, less that 56.
Less than 56, so about 190 acres.
All right, then less what we need to retain for the
The 60
taxiway
acres,
down the other side, we're talking now in the 160 acre range.
130 acre range.
Yeah, 130
30
acre
acre
range.
range, yeah.
So
What,
all the reason I'm saying that's when you discuss that Thursday night is, there's not 260 acres out there for the city to take back. There's only about 130 acres.
Well, and I've actually had that discussion with Joe, and I've put on my city council hat and said, wait a minute, all the improvements have been made here, all the money's been dumped in here, so if we don't get this back, we have to take all this other and assume debt and being back in verse for this. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, I I look forward to seeing everything.
Okay. Pam spent a lot of time on a very good PowerPoint and presentation, which we look forward to sharing with the city on Thursday night. One thing I do want to add, 56 acres, with that comes, the FAA is going to reimburse us on the purchase of that land at about $33,000 an acre. And that's not we've gotten $160,000 already. There's 100 in the next two budgets or next two projects. There's $162,000 in each of those projects to reimburse us for that. Now, that's not going to happen this year or next year, but over the next 8 years, we'll get reimbursed for that 56 acres at about $33,000 an acre.
Well,
Yeah, I want the record reflecting that high-grade valve purchase, the 9.4 acres was $27,660 an acre.
All in, I mean, after attorneys and everybody.
No, that doesn't include.
Attorney costs.
Attorney's fees, were they significant?
No, but I mean, what, okay. I thought that was the net proceeds, but yeah.
I just went by, 260,000. All I could find was
Of the contract.
a memo from Chuck Zones,
Yeah,
it was 260,000. 9.4 acres.
Okay. I'll dig around
But I didn't go
tonight.
through all the
I'll dig it
finances and all that.
I'll dig around tonight for a closing
I
statement.
didn't look at any financial
Okay.
records.
Any questions? I mean, this is the decision that's for us, retaining the land or the city taking it back. It's a fundamental decision.
yeah, on the south end, I guess really 3 parcels we have at the south end of the runway.
Yeah.
If we turn those over for development, whether it be the airport authority or the city, and there aren't limits to height restrictions that would have to go with that, then folks like Cal Jones don't want to lease when you take out that ILS or you displace your threshold, make your runway shorter. So it's kind of hard.
Hard to give up those
For those
cells.
to be developed.
Even those, they look like they're on the south side of 32 and have really no value. I mean, they really have, on the
Bishop Road.
Bishop Road.
Bishop Road.
But they're in that ILS approach area. If you start building buildings, then we have to displace the threshold on our runway, and then you can't get some jets to land there because your runway's now too short.
Great point.
I mean, has that been discussed? I wasn't aware of that.
No, I was just saying if future development, if it's given to the city, if sitting here as airport authority, we can discuss it before something happens. But if it goes to the city says, oh, I found a developer and they want to put a building down there and they want it to be 30 feet tall, it's going to affect our approach in to our northbound runway.
That's right at the very end.
No, I know, but I'm thinking, is that, I didn't know that was part of the parcels that were purchased.
Well, there's some of it in the back, right at the very end.
Back there?
Yeah.
Is that one of the parcels of the 6 that was purchased?
I think so.
It was like A, B, they call them A, B, C, D, E, F.
I think he's talking about that. Yeah, this is all
You would think. It's just
Everything in those.
The city
You want to look at the map? You want to look at the map?
No, I mean, just your comment, that you never make a decision for development that would go to the airport. I mean, that's just not gonna happen.
No, I understand that. I just want to point out whether it's the airport authority or the city, something needs to be considered in the development discussion.
Oh, absolutely, but you said something about that if it went into the city,
Yeah,
this
that's
would
fair.
be developed a certain way, and that wouldn't happen.
But the assurances on the 56 acres, you understand the significance of that. I mean, we have to, I mean, it's,
When I talked about that we of course want to be, paid for land from the FAA. I mean, that's in the grant, but this is the first time I've heard even a timeframe when that would be paid. And over the next 8 years is a long time.
yeah.
For something, again, that we have been appropriating a huge amount of money every single year for the last 10 years. I'm glad that there is.
A mechanism, yeah.
This is at the forefront about wanting to take care of this debt and coming up with development, because it hasn't been at the forefront for a very, very long time. And the city helping with this is a bonus. And if the city is responsible for the debt, then of course we want to be at the table when, talking about refinance, best terms, and the development of the airport, because I do have a sense of urgency, because it's in the best interest of the citizens of Fairhope to get this developed and recoup our money quickly. Not just recoup our money, but recoup the millions of dollars we've already paid in interest. So, coming up with a comprehensive plan is part of, a priority in the comprehensive plan we're gonna do for the whole city. So, we can't any longer not work together with this, and the city really hasn't been involved in that process. So, the land being put into the cities it's the best interest of the citizens, and that as elected officials for the council, and me as the mayor, is our only goal right now, is working for the citizens.
Oh, we appreciate your comments, so, okay.
I think though, as far back as we have been applying for airport improvement plans from the grant monies from the FAA, they do require that we put in what are our long-term goals, plans, and master plans. So going back for several years, the Airport Authority has in fact had a master plan for the development, and a lot of unglamorous work that the airport improvement plans paid for. But we are really, in the last few years, standing at the brink to get all of this development as we have envisioned it for several years. And at this point, just as we've been doing the PowerPoint, that for fiscal years 2010 through 2017, the City of Fairhope appropriation has been $2.84 million, whereas the airport has generated $18.37 million in other investments into the airport.
Those are investments in the airport. And I recognize that it's the board's goal to develop the airport, and y'all have done a great job doing that. It is servicing mostly private, pilots and airplanes, and that's fine. I, though, as the mayor, have to be responsible for that debt every single year. And the refinance of that debt should involve me. It should, we should either reach out to more banks. If we're paying for something, I don't understand what anybody would have a problem with the asset that we're paying for being in our name. It doesn't mean that we don't want the absolute best development for the airport. It just means that we will take a more active role in helping with that. And that's all I intend on doing. I really don't know why it's become even an argument. I don't understand why the airport would have a problem with that. We of course want to be paid back from FAA funds, and we would want good development. The fact that we're just asking for the land for which we've been paying for 10 years and we're obligated to pay until it's paid off, why would anybody have a problem with that? Nobody's been able to explain to me why that would be an issue.
Well, Thursday night, I think you'll find what we put together informative. We're still finalizing, but
I hope that the presentation that you're doing has more about why you would have a problem with the land coming into the city's name than just talking about what we hope to do and what we've done, because I believe y'all have done a great job. And I think plans, I want to be involved in those great plans, but the presentation just needs to talk about why you think the land needs to remain in the airport's name, because that's the only issue.
I don't believe that we see it as the only issue, and it's far better, we think, for the public to understand, to give a more comprehensive presentation.
It's the presentation, like I said, unless it has something to do with why
I've heard
the land needs to be in the airport's name rather than the city's name, then, I just don't want a lot of wasted time, because I agree, there are great things that are happening.
I do not believe the time will be wasted.
No, I'm not saying, I'm saying unless it's only discussing that, we have to know why. The city, the council, our citizens have to know why leaving the land in the airport's name is better than transferring it to the city, since we are paying the debt and we need to take more of an active role, since we've given it 10 years to be developed and not one parcel, not one portion of the land has been developed.
Now, that's 56 acres has been developed.
I know that was sold off, but if
No, it hasn't been sold off. It's-
Then I don't want to risk, the citizens don't want the mayor and council to risk that a comprehensive plan will do better and be more successful paying off that debt quickly and efficiently. Piecemealing land just because somebody comes knocking on your door is not a way to pay off a loan. That's just my belief, and so I want to come to the table with, a plan that we will all take an active role. And I think having the city's help and economic developers' help and airport authorities' help,
Makes a
that's a
win.
good thing.
Yeah. All right.
Joe, let me go on the record as saying, as an airport authority member, strictly me, I don't care if the airport authority owns the land or the city owns the land. The only thing I wanted to be sure we were clear tonight is it's not 265 acres, it's about 130 acres. And that's all that's out there unless we want to affect the operation of the airport the way the FAA has been granting money based on our long-range plan.
And I want to say that to imply that we don't have a long-range plan is, we have a long, we've worked diligently to come up with long-range plans and recruit private and governmental money.
But that's for the airport authority, that's for the development of the airport, not to pay off the loan.
I think they're intertwined.
They haven't been intertwined so far, really. So that's
Ultimately,
why
they're-
it's going.
Jack, correct me if I'm wrong on this from a council standpoint. Ultimately, the city of Fairhope is gaining the assets of the improvements that are being done. I know it's in the airport authority's name, but it's basically the city of Fairhope. Am I wrong about that?
Well, it's as long as the land's in the airport authority name, but you just have to look at the airport as an amenity of the city, and that the airport authority and the city are partners in this, and the city has had a seat at the table because we've had a council liaison on the airport authority since all this began. You can ask you guys, how hard am I on you on the budget? And
Sure.
there's a serious sense of urgency. I cut your budget by $40,000 on the operational aspect. As far as the paying back the loan, there were some scheduled principal payments which offset some of that. But nonetheless, I controlled what the city could control and cut it back and said, you're on your own. When you started getting more rent, we reduced by $40,000 what we gave. So there was always a sense of urgency.
I think that's
to
right.
get the,
Wait a minute, what is
What's
the
the floor right
reason
now?
for the land staying in the airport? Why is that important?
Please let him finish.
No, I'm just trying to give some history there. There's always a sense of urgency on behalf of the airport authority. I hope that you will show this, that it took many years. There's water under the bridge. There was no principal paid for a number of years on the debt. I didn't structure that debt that way. I'm sure that they had a good reason. They didn't know that they were going to have a collapse of the real estate market. But nonetheless, if you look at the momentum, and hopefully y'all put this together, the momentum that has been attained in the past 4 years, if under airport authority control, there has been a significant dent put in the debt. There's been $1.5 million paid down on the debt in just the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
And it can continue with the city being in the city's under city ownership or under airport authority ownership. The city and the airport authority must work together. The one thing is for certain, the way I see it, is if it reverts back to the city, you're certainly never you're gonna be responsible for all the debt, and as you pay off the loan, you'll pay it off, but you'll pay off that debt. But if the airport authority retains control, there is the possibility that they will wean themselves off the city. If it doesn't stay in airport authority control, there's no chance that it'll ever be weaned off the city. That's kind of one way that I look at it, that you're eliminating any chance I think that the city could give the airport authority a crutch for several more years, and then you can totally wean yourself from the city. The city takes it, there's no chance of that ever happening.
Mr. Hadley, did you have a comment?
I have a couple of questions, and Jack, you may be the best one to answer. With the FAA already paying for part of the land and being involved with some long-term contracts and development, can you divide up this debt with the city as part of the debt, and the airport authority has the rest of the debt? And what does it do to the city's bond rating to move that debt from the airport authority to the city?
I'm not certain that debt can be split up, and that is a really good question. It was something that Mr. Booth was talking about, that I do believe, because of all the money that's been spent with FAA grant money, this is encumbered by FAA money. This has to remain under control of the airport authority, as you know, all the runway portions of the airport and this other east side development of the airport, west side development of the airport. This is all airport authority proper. I don't know if I can answer the question if that loan itself can be divided. And then if it could be divided, can it be divided fairly? As far as affecting the bond rating of the city of Fairhope, that was a concern in 2008, but I would have to say that's not so much of a concern now that the city has retired a lot of debt over the last, beginning 4 or 5 years ago. Our debt ceiling has probably increased significantly, and the amount of debt that we have has been reduced significantly. So I don't know that, even if you assumed another $7.5 million worth of debt, I just can't understand that very much. My guess would be that it would not, it wouldn't be much of a factor.
It's not that the debt, splitting up the debt, it's the fact that the land is in the airport's name and the city's paying for it.
Thank you.
And since we've had 10 years, to do this, I have personally been not, I've said from the beginning, I wanted to be a part of this process, and I've been intentionally left off, I don't know if it's intentionally or accidentally, left off of meetings, and there was the finance meeting that was pushed up several months to refinance this before I got into office.
That's just not.
That's
Well,
not
I'm just saying
accurate.
that's what happened, so that's why I'm like, why is this happening?
But that's not accurate, because if you go back and read the minutes of the public meetings of the airport authority, you will see months ago, we talked about a timeline to refinance. It had nothing to do, wait a minute, I have not finished my sentence. Has nothing to do with the election that took place in this town, or the change of office for both the mayor and the city council members as well. That is reflected in our public minutes several months ago that we were planning on refinancing.
Can I speak? All I'm asking is to understand why it is better to remain in the airport's name when the city is paying for it and the city wants, obviously, positive things to happen at the airport. Until somebody can say that, and why is there an argument? I don't understand the argument. That's all. We have to be transparent with the citizens. Most citizens have no idea what we've been spending every year for the last 10 years on this. And when I have been making them aware, they are shocked and they want to know, why isn't the city doing more? Well, we are going to do more, and we're going to do good things, and we want good things for this airport. It's not going to affect our FAA grants because the money comes to the city first anyway, and then we give it to the airport. But the airport is not part of the city. The airport authority is totally separate from the city. All the assets are in the airport, all income, everything is in the airport. So I think this will be a great asset for Fairhope long-term, but until that happens, Fairhope is going to take the city of Fairhope is gonna take a more active role in helping to develop it so we can take care of this debt that makes up 21% of the city's debt.
Okay.
That's good.
Any further comment?
Let's move on.
Oh, yeah, let's move on. Okay. All right, kind of anticlimactic, I'll talk about the treasurer's report. Since Ray's not here, pretty standard month. Our operating income is from fuel sales, the Continental's rent, the public safety rents, and some ground leases. We had a pretty good month. We made $61,000, and we had expenses of $24,000 and had a net income of $36,000. So we did get an appropriation from the city for $34,000 that we're very appreciative of. So,
What's the maintenance building facility cost of
Sorry, what?
$6,300? There's the 6835 maintenance building.
that's 16,000. That's mostly
No, 68.
that's mostly maintenance and grounds. We have a summary of that on the I report every. What that was the basically the ground maintenance on the back page. Two.
But I'm showing here is for the current month. See, current month.
Okay, that's in ground. It's probably missed.
It's pavement 7 of 9 cutting the grass and pavement 8 of 9 cutting the grass.
Yeah, it's cut two,
Okay.
and they sometimes they get slotted in the wrong month. So that's ground maintenance. I think she's got it slotted in facilities, but that happens sometimes.
Public security was the
Yeah,
35.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
should have been moved down, yeah, okay.
Okay, any other business for the board? Any board members have comments? Chip? Tom, you've been awfully quiet. Which I guess is a good thing. Okay. We'll roll into public comments. We're going to limit public comments to 5 minutes for individual. That's just a fair, appropriate way to do it. So anybody has any public comments?
Yes, sir. Joe, thank you very much. I'm Hank Cadell. I represent some of the citizens who are suffering from airplane noise in residential areas of Fairhope. And my clients, one of whom, Anna Miller's here with us today, may have some comments, have been really suffering since May of 2016. Something really changed. And by the way, good news, you guys are not guilty. I talked to Joe earlier, and there were various complaints. You probably are getting some of these complaints, but we want to help coordinate with you so to help folks understand what we're doing, what our focus is. And also, the Coast Guard helicopter training is not guilty. What the problem is that these T6 pilot training prop airplanes began a much more intensive program of training. It covers much of the eastern Florida Panhandle, Mobile County, maybe Escambia County. So we have my clients, both, one of them is a bar pilot piloting ships up and down and has to sleep in the morning, has to sleep during the day. So this is a severe problem with him because you'd have thought that we had gone back to Pearl Harbor or something. The screeching and shrill aerobatics are horrific. We have some recordings of them. We have logs day after day after day of incessant nuisance problems with that. It is, my clients are virtually ready to move. They have been in Fairhope for many years, made it their home, but virtually ready to move. We're identifying numerous other residents of Fairhope with the same problem. One person cannot exercise and swim in her backyard pool, of course not during the winter, but because of the frightening and shrill aerobatics, dive bombing, and whatever it is that's going on. Okay, the officials at Naval Station Pensacola and Whiting had basically said, oh, this is going on, we stand above X number of feet. If we have to train pilots, it's going to continue. That's that. Okay. So we began researching the law several months ago, and we're able to report to you that no, There's very strong federal law. This is the U.S. Constitution. You cannot take property without just compensation. It's called inverse condemnation under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. So we're investigating this. There's very strong legal basis and precedent here. But we would hope very much that this could be worked out. And one reason I'm so happy that Mayor Wilson and Councilman Burrell are here, because we'll be talking to you guys more. We were going to get, you're on our list for sure. Okay. You just happen to be here tonight. There doesn't seem to be good reason on God's green earth when you have vast areas of Baldwin County that are rural, uninhabited, that this same pilot training and dive bombing and all could go on over open fields, disturbing the pigs and cows and trees maybe, but not our residents, and not rendering large parts of residential Fairhope degraded to the extent that it's ruining the amenities, it's ruining the habitability. It's just very serious. So we'd like to team up with you. We have worked with Jeff Selshins and Bradley Byrne. And right now, they were at the point like, oh, they said nothing can be done. But we've done the research. We'd like to cooperate with everyone, get you on the team, and we would hope and trust that if we can communicate to the Navy that this possibility of someone could be in federal court of claims in Washington, D.C. with these theories, that they would say, hey, we think we can remap these training exercises. So we really appreciate we want to keep you posted, we will keep you in the loop, and appreciate y'all joining, and maybe we could solve this together, because I think the very nature of Fairhope as an idyllic community that's continuing on the top 10 in the country as far as retirement destinations and just wonderful places to be, maintains its character. So we'll stay in touch, and love to be in touch with you guys.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Well, Hank, I guess, said some of it there, but I'm Anna Miller, and I came to the July Airport Authority meeting, and I know I've had some discussions with some of y'all not in the meeting, just letting y'all know how serious this problem is for us. And we feel like we've tried a lot of avenues that were presented to us, and we haven't really gotten anywhere. So that's where we got into reaching out to Mr. Cadell here. Every time I think it's let up, then it starts up again.
It surprises you, doesn't it?
This past Friday, I sat there and did screenshots every time I couldn't work because it was flying over, and it was 45 times between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. And once it starts, it just kind of goes over and over again, and I know some other people here are really bothered by it too. So it's just really important to us. We want to stay in Fairhope. My husband grew up here. I've lived here since 2008. This is a new problem, and we really are hopeful that we can get something done about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Anybody else? Okay. Anything else? Okay, then I'll adjourn the meeting at 6:35. 5:35. 5:35.
6:35.
5:35.